The vast Zarynth Empire ruled over hundreds of star systems, and many feared its power. At the center of this empire sat Empress Lythara, a cold and calculating ruler who believed strength was the only truth in the universe. She stood on the balcony of her throne hall, staring out at the endless stars. Her golden eyes glowed with a quiet fury. For months she had watched reports about humanity. Humans grew fast, learned fast, spread fast. They were unpredictable, stubborn, and refused to submit to any empire. To her, they were a threat waiting to explode. When the latest report arrived, she read it with rising anger. Human colonies had discovered new technology that allowed them to travel even faster than before. Their ships were multiplying across the galaxy. Their armies were becoming stronger. To Empress Lythara, this meant only one thing. If she waited any longer, the Zarynth Empire might one day face a rival strong enough to challenge its rule. She would not allow that to happen. The throne hall filled with the sound of a deep gong. Soldiers, commanders, and nobles stood in rows as the Empress stepped forward. Her voice echoed across the chamber, cold and sharp. From this day forward, humanity is to be erased. Every human world, every human ship, every human life. Destroy them all. Her command spread through the hall like a shockwave. Many bowed. A few hesitated in fear. The Empire had fought many enemies before, but never had the Empress ordered the complete extinction of an entire species. Still, no one dared question her. At the front of the hall stood the dragon general Vaelor Drakaryn. He was tall and powerful, with dark scales that reflected the hall's lights. His wings were folded behind him, and his expression was unreadable. Vaelor was the strongest general in the Empire, known for winning impossible battles and crushing enemy fleets with terrifying speed. When the Empress gave an order, he was always the first to follow it. But this time, something twisted inside him. He heard the order and felt a cold weight settle in his chest. He bowed like the others, but his mind was far away. The Empress did not know his secret. Not a single person in the Empire knew. Vaelor, the fiercest of all generals, was married to a human. Her name was Claire. A simple, brave woman with gentle hands and bright eyes. She lived far from the Empire's center, hidden on a small moon that almost no one visited. Vaelor had protected her for years, lying to the Empire about his movements, hiding any trace of her existence. If the Empress discovered the truth, Claire would be killed instantly. And now, with this new command, every soldier in the Empire would be ordered to hunt for humans. The Empress stepped down from her platform and walked toward Vaelor. She looked up at him with calm confidence. "General Vaelor, you will lead the first wave," she said. "Your fleet will crush the human colonies along the outer rim. I expect complete destruction. No survivors." Vaelor bowed again, but the movement was slower this time. "As you command, my Empress," he replied. Lythara smiled faintly, unaware of the storm rising inside him. She dismissed the court, and the commanders hurried away. Vaelor followed them until he reached the shadows of a long corridor. There he stopped, his heart heavy. He remembered the first time he met Claire. It was years ago during a secret mission on Earth. He had been injured and separated from his squad. Claire had found him and helped him hide from human forces. Instead of fear, she had shown kindness. Instead of running, she had stayed with him. That night changed everything. Over time, their bond became something deeper. They trusted each other. They laughed together. Eventually, they fell in love. He knew their love was forbidden. A dragon general of the Zarynth Empire could never marry a human. But he had chosen her anyway, and now the Empire wanted to kill her entire kind. Vaelor pressed his claws against the cold metal wall. The weight of the Empress's command crushed him. He could not obey it, but he also could not openly refuse. Doing so would expose Claire and bring the Empire's full force upon her. As he walked back to his ship, his mind raced with fear and determination. He would have to choose soon. Would he betray the Empire he had sworn to serve? Or would he let the woman he loved be destroyed with the rest of humanity? The Emperor's starships began to gather near the capital, preparing for war. Engines roared across the skies. Soldiers loaded weapons. Commanders reviewed maps of human space. Everything moved forward with cold efficiency. Vaelor stood on the command deck of his flagship, staring at the stars. Somewhere out there, Claire was waiting for him, unaware of the danger rising around her. He knew he had to act before the Empress learned the truth. The fate of humanity, and the fate of the woman he loved, now rested in his hands. Vaelor returned to his ship in silence, but his thoughts were loud and restless. The steel corridors of the flagship felt colder than usual, as if the Empress's command had frozen the air itself. Soldiers saluted him as he passed, unaware that the general they obeyed was carrying a secret heavy enough to destroy him. Vaelor kept walking until he reached a sealed chamber deep inside the ship. He placed his hand on the door, and it opened with a soft hiss. Inside the chamber was a private communication terminal, one that only he could access. It was hidden behind layers of false reports and encrypted logs. The moment the screen lit up, a soft voice answered. "Vaelor? Is everything all right?" Claire's face appeared on the screen. Her brown hair was a little messy, and her eyes looked tired but warm. She was on the small moon where he had hidden her, a quiet and lonely place far from the Empire's busy routes. She did not know what had happened in the throne hall. She did not know the danger building around her. Vaelor took a slow breath. "Claire, something has changed." "Changed? What do you mean?" she asked, leaning closer. "The Empress has given a command. She wants humanity destroyed." Claire froze. Her eyes widened, and her voice trembled. "All humans?" "Yes, every colony, every ship, every person," Vaelor said quietly. He watched as fear and disbelief washed over her face. She shook her head slowly. "Why? Humans haven't attacked the Empire. We haven't done anything. She sees your kind as a threat. She believes humanity will grow too strong one day." Claire covered her mouth with her hand. Her voice was small. "Vaelor, what are you going to do?" That was the question he feared the most. As a general of the Empire, he was expected to lead the attack. He was supposed to destroy human worlds, her world. But as Claire stared at him with worry in her eyes, Vaelor felt the truth settle heavily inside him. He could not obey this order. He would rather be hunted by the entire Empire than see her harmed. "I will protect you," he said, "no matter what it costs." Claire's eyes softened, but the fear remained. "It's not just about me. Vaelor, my people. They don't deserve this. You have to warn Earth." Vaelor lowered his gaze. "Warning Earth would be treason." "Treason to the Empress," Claire said gently. "Not treason to what is right." Her words cut deep. She had always been like this, brave, honest, unafraid to say what she believed. It was one of the reasons he had fallen in love with her. But warning Earth would mean risking everything. If the Empress found out, he would be executed. Claire would be hunted. But if he did nothing, Earth would be destroyed. He lifted his head. "I will find a way," he said at last. Claire nodded slowly. "Then I'll trust you. Just come back to me." The screen dimmed, and the chamber fell silent again. Vaelor stood still, taking in a deep breath before returning to the command deck. When he arrived, his officers were already preparing the fleet for departure. "General, the Empress has ordered us to move at once," one of his captains reported. "Understood," Vaelor replied. "Set a course for the outer rim." The fleet launched from the capital, hundreds of ships rising into the dark sky. To everyone else, they were starting a mission of destruction. But Vaelor had a different plan. He needed to delay the attack. He needed time to reach Earth. He waited until the fleet reached the first human colony on their list. The officers expected him to order a strike, but Vaelor remained calm. "We will scout first," he said. "No action until I give the command." His officers exchanged confused glances. Vaelor never hesitated in battle, but none of them dared question him openly. While the fleet stayed at a distance, Vaelor boarded a small stealth craft. He selected only a few trusted pilots who believed in him completely and asked no questions. The craft detached from the flagship and slipped into hyperspace, leaving the fleet behind. Hours later, Earth came into view, a small blue world that looked peaceful from orbit. But Vaelor knew that peace would soon be shattered. He landed at a hidden base on the far side of the planet, a base built in case humanity ever faced alien attack. Armed soldiers surrounded him immediately, pointing their weapons. "State your purpose," a voice ordered. Vaelor stepped forward. "I come with a warning." The soldiers hesitated. Then a group of high-ranking officers entered the room. Among them were Captain Noah, Commander Ella, and Strategist Karen. They studied Vaelor carefully. "Why would a general of the Empire come to us?" Noah demanded. Vaelor met their eyes with a steady gaze. "Because your extinction has been ordered, and because I refuse to let it happen." The room fell silent. Noah looked shocked. Ella looked angry. Karen looked afraid. "And why should we trust you?" Ella asked. Vaelor hesitated for a moment, then spoke the truth. "Because I love a human," he said quietly, "and I will not let your people die." The humans stared at him with disbelief, but they could see the honesty in his eyes. They slowly lowered their weapons. Karen took a hesitant step forward. "Then you came to warn us." Vaelor nodded. "The Empire is coming, and you must be ready." The fate of two worlds began to change at that moment, as a dragon general stood with humanity for the first time in history. Vaelor stood inside the hidden base beneath Earth's surface, surrounded by human officers who still struggled to believe what they were hearing. The dim lights flickered across the room, casting long shadows on the walls. The silence that followed his warning felt heavy. Humanity had never faced a threat like this before. Captain Noah paced back and forth as if trying to process the impossible. Commander Ella stood stiff, her hands clenched behind her back. Strategist Karen studied Vaelor with cautious eyes, her mind moving quickly. "You're telling us the Zarynth Empire plans to wipe us out entirely?" Noah asked. "Yes," Vaelor replied. "The Empress has ordered your extinction. Her fleets will strike your colonies first. Earth will fall soon after." Ella shook her head slowly. "We don't have the fleet to fight them. We can defend our orbit, maybe push back a small force, but a full Imperial fleet. We would be crushed," Karen finished quietly. Vaelor stepped forward. "That is why I came. I bring information, tactical details, fleet positions, attack schedules, everything I could gather without drawing suspicion." Karen reached out and took the data crystal from Vaelor's clawed hand. She plugged it into the base terminal, and the screen filled with blue holograms of star systems, ship routes, and battle plans. Noah let out a breath. "This is real. This is all real." The officers fell silent again. Vaelor watched their faces shift from disbelief to fear, and then to determination. Humans were quick to adapt, quick to think, and quick to fight back. It was one of the reasons the Empress feared them. "We need a full retreat of our outer colonies," Karen said. "Evacuate as many as we can before the Empire arrives. And we need to strengthen Earth's defenses," Ella added. "If they take Earth, the rest of humanity is finished." "And we will need allies," Noah said. "Even unexpected ones." He looked at Vaelor. Vaelor nodded. "I will help you. I know Imperial tactics better than anyone. I know how they think, how they attack, how they respond. But you must move quickly. The Empire will not delay." Karen looked up from the data. "General, may I ask something?" Vaelor turned his head slightly. "You may. You said you love a human. Is she safe?" Vaelor felt a deep ache inside him. "For now. I hid her on a moon far from Imperial routes. But if the Empress expands the search, she may be found." The humans exchanged a look of sympathy. Noah stepped closer. "If she's important to you, then she's important to us. When this is over, we'll help you bring her here." Vaelor bowed his head slightly. "Thank you." The meeting continued as alarms echoed across the base. Messages arrived from human colonies. Ships scrambled to evacuate civilians. Command centers coordinated defense lines. Earth was moving, preparing, bracing itself. Hours passed before Vaelor finally stepped outside the base for a moment of quiet. The sky above was bright blue, something he rarely saw in the Empire's dark worlds. He looked up with a deep breath. For a moment, he felt something he had not felt in a long time, hope. But hope did not last long. A soft beep sounded from the device on his wrist. It was a message from Claire. Vaelor hurried back into the base and opened a secure channel. Claire's face appeared again, but this time she looked frightened. Vaelor, something is wrong here. His heart tightened. What happened? There were ships in the distance, she said. They didn't approach, but they were scanning. I could feel it. I'm scared. Vaelor clenched his jaw. The Empire must have sent patrols. Maybe by coincidence. Or maybe someone had begun to suspect him. Either way, she was no longer safe. I am coming for you, he said. No, Claire said quickly. If you leave now, your fleet will know something is wrong. You could expose yourself. You could expose me. I don't care. Your safety matters more than the Empire, more than... She shook her head firmly. Vaelor, you told me Earth needs you. I won't let you abandon them now. I'll stay quiet. I'll hide. Just finish what you need to do. Her voice trembled, but her courage remained. How did I ever deserve someone like you? Vaelor whispered. Claire gave a weak smile. Come back to me when it's safe. The screen went dark. Vaelor closed his eyes for a moment, then returned to the command center. The humans looked up as he entered. What happened? Noah asked. Nothing we cannot handle, Vaelor lied. We must continue. The Empire is moving faster than expected. Ella studied him, sensing something was wrong, but she did not press. Karen pointed at the hologram of the outer colonies. General, if we use your knowledge, we might be able to slow them down. Enough time to organize our main defense. Vaelor nodded. I will advise you on every move, but be warned. The Empire is ruthless. If they sense a trap, they will strike harder. And what about your fleet? Ella asked. They're expecting you to lead the attack. Vaelor's eyes darkened. I will have to mislead them. Buy you time. But once the Empress realizes the truth, she'll come after you too, Noah said. Yes, Vaelor replied. He lifted his head with steady resolve. But until then, I stand with humanity. Back in the Zarynth Empire, suspicion began to grow around General Vaelor. Other commanders whispered among themselves, noting his hesitations and his unusual actions. Among them, Commander Zaryon, ambitious and ruthless, was the most suspicious. He had served the Empire for decades and prided himself on loyalty and vigilance. The slightest deviation from orders did not escape his notice. Zaryon had watched Vaelor for weeks, noticing his prolonged scouting missions and subtle delays in executing Imperial commands. His curiosity and ambition were a dangerous mix. He decided to investigate. Using secret surveillance drones, Zaryon followed Vaelor's fleet during one of its covert missions. He noticed the general stealth craft splitting off from the main fleet, slipping into hyperspace without a trace. Something was amiss. Meanwhile, Empress Lythara grew impatient. She summoned Vaelor to the throne hall once more. General Vaelor, she said, her voice sharp as a blade. Reports indicate delays in your mission. Explain yourself. Vaelor bowed respectfully. My Empress, I am gathering intelligence to ensure a swift and decisive victory. I will strike at the opportune moment and eliminate humanity as you command. The Empress's eyes narrowed, but she did not press further. Vaelor's reputation and previous victories bought him a degree of trust, for now. But she would be watching. Back on Earth, Vaelor worked closely with Captain Noah, Commander Ella, and strategist Karen to organize defenses. Every day brought new challenges. Evacuating colonies, reinforcing orbital defenses, and coordinating strategies. Vaelor guided them, using his knowledge of Imperial tactics to predict attacks and counter them. Claire stayed hidden on her moon, always aware that the Empire's reach was growing closer. She sent encrypted messages to Vaelor, warning him of any unusual activity. Each time she did, Vaelor's heart ached with worry for her safety. Zaryon's investigation intensified. He intercepted one of Claire's encrypted transmissions and grew suspicious. The handwriting, the code, and the patterns suggested a connection to a human that Vaelor was hiding. Zaryon reported back to the Empress, hinting at treachery, but without concrete proof. The Empress's patience began to thin. She called for a council of war, demanding results from her generals. "Why has humanity not been destroyed yet?" she demanded. "Why are delays occurring when the fate of the Empire is at stake?" Vaelor presented reports showing careful reconnaissance and minor skirmishes, framing his actions as meticulous preparation for a perfect strike. The Empress accepted this explanation reluctantly, though suspicion lingered in her golden eyes. Meanwhile, Earth's defenses improved daily. Civilian evacuation plans ran smoothly under Claire's guidance, while Vaelor and human commanders orchestrated patrols, set traps, and prepared defensive fleets. Each success was a small victory, a fragile hope against the overwhelming power of the Zarynth Empire. Vaelor knew that time was running out. Zaryon was close to discovering the truth, and the Empress's patience was wearing thin. Every decision carried weight. A wrong move could mean the death of Claire, the exposure of his secret, and the complete destruction of humanity. At night, Vaelor stood alone on the command deck, looking out at the stars. His mind replayed every encounter, every choice, every risk he had taken to protect the woman he loved. And he knew that the coming days would test everything: his loyalty, his courage, and his heart. The Empire's shadow was closing in, and the fate of two worlds rested on his next moves. Zaryon's patience ran out. Using every resource at his disposal, he launched a covert operation to uncover Vaelor's secret. Drones, spies, and encrypted trackers were deployed across known human-friendly zones, tracing any anomalies that could reveal the hidden connections of the Dragon General. Meanwhile, Vaelor remained unaware that his private life was under scrutiny. On the hidden moon where Claire lived, the sun cast a warm glow over quiet forests and crystalline lakes. Claire moved carefully, aware that any mistake could expose her location. She tended a small garden and kept communication with Vaelor brief and coded, knowing that any longer contact could be dangerous. Zaryon's operatives soon discovered subtle anomalies in the moon's energy patterns, confirming their suspicions that a human was being protected in a restricted zone. They closed in, carefully avoiding detection. The day Zaryon discovered Claire, Vaelor was strategizing with Earth's commanders. Reports came in from the outer colonies about minor skirmishes and strange fleet movements. Vaelor knew something was stirring within the Empire, but he did not suspect the extent of the danger. It was Claire herself who first noticed the intruders. From her lookout, she saw cloaked ships descending toward the moon. Panic surged through her. She activated a hidden signal, a desperate call to Vaelor. He received the transmission instantly. Without hesitation, he mobilized a rapid response. Boarding a small, fast craft, he left Earth immediately, cutting through hyperspace with precision and urgency. The fleet under his command remained in place, unaware that their general had secretly abandoned his mission. Vaelor arrived just as Zaryon's forces landed. He confronted the intruders with calculated force, using speed and strategy to minimize conflict while keeping Claire safe. Beams of energy tore through the terrain, but Vaelor's precise control ensured the moon remained intact. Claire followed Vaelor closely, her hands gripping his arm as he guided her through the chaos. Explosions and shouts filled the air, but she trusted him completely, knowing his every move was designed to protect her. Zaryon, realizing his target was escaping, pursued them aggressively. He engaged Vaelor in a fierce aerial duel above the moon's surface. The battle was intense. Claws against energy weapons, fire against shields, speed against strategy. Vaelor fought not just to defeat Zaryon, but to ensure Claire remained unharmed. Claire watched, heart pounding, as the duel raged above. She shouted warnings and dodged debris, helping Vaelor navigate through the moon's forests and rocky terrain. Together, they moved with precision born of deep trust and mutual understanding. Finally, Vaelor managed to outmaneuver Zaryon, using a combination of aerial agility and strategic foresight. Zaryon's forces were forced to retreat, though the commander himself escaped, carrying proof of the encounter back to the Empress. Vaelor descended to the ground, immediately checking on Claire. "Are you unharmed?" he asked. "I'm fine," she said, still breathing heavily. But they will come back. He has proof now. Vaelor clenched his jaw, knowing that Zaryon's report would trigger the Empress's wrath. The Empire would now see him as a traitor, and every move he made would be scrutinized. Claire was safe for the moment, but the danger was far from over. He looked at her, determination burning in his eyes. I will not let them take you. Not now, not ever. We have to move quickly. Earth must be ready. The Empress will strike sooner than we expected. Claire nodded, understanding the gravity of their situation. Together, they prepared for the next step in their fight. A battle to defend humanity, a battle to survive, and a battle that would test the limits of Vaelor's loyalty, courage, and love. The Empress Lythara's fury knew no bounds when she received Zaryon's report. Evidence of Vaelor's betrayal, protecting a human and delaying the extermination, angered her beyond measure. She called for an emergency council, her golden eyes blazing with wrath. General Vaelor has betrayed the Empire, she declared. Strip him of his rank. Hunt him down as a traitor. Every ship in the fleet is to capture him, and any human associated with him will be destroyed. Zaryon bowed deeply, satisfied that he had finally exposed Vaelor's secret. The council agreed without question, sending orders across the Empire's forces. The hunt for Vaelor and the humans began. Meanwhile, Vaelor knew the Empire's attention was now fully upon him. He had to act quickly. Earth was their only refuge, but the Empire's fleet was vast and powerful. He needed to organize defenses not just for humanity but for himself and Claire. He arrived at Earth with urgency, the hidden base's alarms signaling the arrival of his forces. Captain Noah, Commander Ella, and strategist Karen prepared to meet him. The humans recognized the change in Vaelor. He was no longer just an ally. He was a hunted traitor of the Empire, a dragon risking everything to save them. The Empress knows now, Vaelor said grimly. We must prepare for a direct strike. They will come at full force. The humans nodded. They had no choice but to trust him completely. Vaelor guided them in strengthening orbital defenses, deploying strategic weaponry, and coordinating civilian evacuations. Each decision had to be precise. A single mistake could mean annihilation. Claire remained hidden, still on her moon. Vaelor communicated with her in brief, coded messages, ensuring she stayed safe. She monitored fleet movements and reported anything unusual, giving Vaelor the intelligence he needed to protect Earth. As the first Imperial ships approached Earth's orbit, Vaelor led a daring counterstrategy. Using his knowledge of Imperial tactics, he arranged defensive fleets in unexpected patterns, creating decoys and traps. Human ships moved with newfound coordination, following Vaelor's guidance with trust and precision. Zaryon was among the attacking forces, determined to capture Vaelor and expose him fully to the Empress. The battle erupted in space, beams of energy cutting through the void, ships maneuvering at impossible speeds. Vaelor's strategy allowed the humans to withstand the initial assault, giving them precious time to adapt. Amid the chaos, Vaelor personally led key strikes against high-priority Imperial vessels. His combination of speed, strength, and strategy caught the enemy off guard. Ships that should have been destroyed were saved, and civilian transports managed to escape. As the battle reached its peak, Vaelor faced Zaryon in a tense aerial duel above the planet's surface. The combat was intense, their abilities evenly matched, and the fate of many hung in the balance. Vaelor's mind raced. Not just tactics, but how to end the duel without unnecessary destruction. Finally, Vaelor outmaneuvered Zaryon, forcing him to retreat with the remaining Imperial forces. The humans had survived the first wave, but the threat was far from over. The Empress would respond with even greater fury. Vaelor turned to Noah, Ella, and Karen. We have bought time, but we cannot rest. The Empress will strike again. We must continue to strengthen our defenses, prepare civilians, and anticipate every move. Claire watched the unfolding events from her hidden location, heart-pounding but proud of Vaelor. Their fight was not just for survival. It was for love, for humanity, and for the hope of a future where dragons and humans could stand together. Vaelor looked out at the stars, determination blazing in his eyes. The Empress's invasion had failed, but the war had only just begun. And now, the hunted dragon general had become humanity's greatest defender. The battle for humanity escalated into one of the largest conflicts Earth had ever faced. Imperial ships descended in massive waves, weapons blazing, while human forces scrambled to defend every orbiting station and planet below. Vaelor stood on the command deck, giving orders with a calm precision that belied the chaos around him. "Captain Noah, take the outer defense line and set up energy barriers," Vaelor commanded. "Commander Ella, coordinate the fleet to form a perimeter around the capital. Strategist Karen, direct the evacuation routes. We cannot afford any mistakes." Human ships moved like a well-oiled machine, following Vaelor's strategies to perfection. They used guerrilla tactics, decoys, and feints that took the Empire by surprise. Vaelor's knowledge of Imperial battle tactics gave them the upper hand in key moments. Above Earth, Zarynth appeared once again, his personal fleet advancing aggressively. Vaelor met him in the skies, their clash of fire and energy lighting up the void. The duel was brutal and skillful, each using every advantage to gain the upper hand. Claire coordinated civilian movements from her hidden base, ensuring that every human who could be saved reached safety. She worked tirelessly, her courage unwavering even as the sky above blazed with destruction. Vaelor focused on the duel with Zarynth, moving with speed and strategy. He anticipated Zarynth's attacks, dodged energy blasts, and used the terrain of the atmosphere and orbit to his advantage. The duel was more than combat. It was a clash of loyalty, values, and determination. After a fierce exchange, Vaelor managed to disable Zarynth's flagship, forcing the commander to retreat with his forces. The human fleet celebrated their small victory, though the larger threat of the Empire remained. Vaelor landed on Earth briefly to oversee ground defenses. Missile batteries were prepared, energy shields activated, and civilian transport ships moved along evacuation corridors. Every detail mattered. Amid the battle, Vaelor reflected on the sacrifices required to protect humanity. He thought of Claire, of her bravery and resilience, and of the countless lives he now shared responsibility for. Each decision carried weight, but his resolve never wavered. Earth unleashed a desperate weapon, a massive energy pulse designed to disable the Empire's fleet temporarily. The tactic worked, slowing down the enemy's advance and giving humans time to regroup. With the immediate threat mitigated, Vaelor turned to the human leaders. "This is only the beginning. The Empress will retaliate. We must be ready. Every decision, every movement from this point forward, will determine whether humanity survives." Noah, Ella, and Karen nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. They had survived the first wave, but the Empire's power was immense, and the war was far from over. Above them all, the stars continued to shine, silent witnesses to the unfolding conflict. Vaelor's determination, combined with human courage and strategy, had won them time, and in that moment, humanity and dragons stood together, ready to face whatever the galaxy could throw at them next. The Empress Lythara was furious beyond measure. The failure of her first invasion had been a shock, and the revelation of Vaelor's betrayal pushed her into a dangerous fury. Determined to crush him and humanity, she prepared a second wave of attacks, larger and more devastating than the first. But Vaelor was ready. He had anticipated her moves and prepared strategies to counter them. Earth's defenses were stronger, civilian evacuations were more organized, and the human fleet was now coordinated under his leadership. Every ship, every soldier, every resource had been prepared for the Empress's next strike. Vaelor knew that to end the threat, he would have to confront the Empress directly. Using ancient dragon honor laws, he challenged her for the throne. The challenge was clear: a ritual duel, where the victor would hold the ultimate power over the Empire. The duel was monumental. Vaelor faced the Empress in her throne chamber, a vast space filled with golden light and the weight of history. Both were powerful, skilled, and determined. Each attack and counterattack carried the weight of entire worlds. The battle tested Vaelor's strength, his strategy, and his heart. He drew on every lesson he had learned, every bond he had formed, and every ounce of courage. The duel was not just about victory. It was about protecting humanity, his love for Claire, and the hope of a future where dragons and humans could coexist. Finally, through determination and skill, Vaelor overcame the Empress. She yielded, acknowledging his right to the throne. With her defeat, the Extinction decree was lifted, and the Empire's fleets were called back. Humanity had survived, and the Zarynth Empire was now led by a ruler who valued honor, loyalty, and life. Vaelor immediately formed an alliance with Earth. Humans and dragons worked together, sharing technology, knowledge, and culture. Claire was by his side, no longer in hiding, as they helped shape a new era of peace and cooperation. The war had tested them all, but from the ashes of conflict arose a bond stronger than fear. Humanity had survived, dragons had found a leader who valued them, and love had triumphed over duty and fear. Vaelor stood on the balcony of the Imperial Palace, looking out at the stars. Beside him, Claire held his hand. Together, they watched as humanity and dragons began building a future where both could thrive. The galaxy had witnessed the strength of courage, the power of love, and the importance of standing for what is right. The Empress's decree to exterminate humanity had failed, and in its failure, a new chapter began. One where dragons and humans stood together, ready to face whatever challenges the stars might bring.